Hey, what's good, fam? It's Kyle Henderson along with Andrew Bone. Breaking news for the Alabama Crimson Tide this morning of Tuesday, December 27th, a couple days away from the Sugar Bowl. CJ Dippre has announced his transfer from Maryland to Alabama football. Big pickup on the tight end front. Bone, another big day for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah, this is a guy that Alabama was really, excited about, really, needed a big
Mhm.
position of need here. A guy that's 6'5", 260 pounds.
Mhm.
Tight end position had 30 receptions, 314 yards, 3 touchdowns during his sophomore season
Mhm.
for the Terrapins. And I think going into this transfer portal season, certainly some positions that Alabama had interest in. Not really anybody that
Mhm.
they're actively pursuing at any other positions, but tight end was one position that they really wanted to add one more player to. And we had talked about this earlier in the month when, and even before that, Alabama had a commitment from Ty Lockwood, 4-star tight end out of Tennessee, committed to Alabama back in August. And Alabama kept recruiting tight ends.
Mhm.
Most of those guys were committed elsewhere. Lawson Lucky, who had visited Alabama a few times, is committed to Georgia. Luke Haas, an Arkansas commitment. There was some interest there. Both of those guys ended up sticking with their decisions in the end. So we knew that tight end was still a priority position because of the fact that they were still recruiting, other guys. And I think even if they would have been able to flip Haas or Lawson Lucky, I think
Mhm.
they would have still gone after somebody in the transfer portal. I think, going into next football season, there's not a true starter. You're losing Cam Latu.
Mhm.
Who's going to be that next, starting tight end, or
Mhm.
got to be a couple guys that are going to try to get out there and block and catch passes, and who's it going to be? So there was there's a big need there. They saw CJ Dippre, kind of early. He was one of these guys that got a lot of offers right off the bat. Alabama didn't offer him; they wanted to bring him in. There's always some interest, but they wanted to bring him in, offer him in person. That's kind of like how they like to operate. And once he visited Tuscaloosa a couple weekends ago, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, he received the offer from Nick Saban.
Mhm.
There was a lot of positive momentum there after the weekend, but he did end up taking an official visit the following weekend to Ohio State. So it came down to the Crimson Tide and the Buckeyes. And it's kind of interesting because Ty Lockwood, Alabama's other addition in the 2023 class, flipped his commitment from the Buckeyes to the Crimson Tide back in August. And now you got another tight end in this class that ended up choosing Alabama over Ohio State. So a lot of credit has to go to Alabama's tight ends coach, Joe Cox. He
Mhm.
was the lead recruiter here and, was able to add both of these tight ends in this recruiting class. So big addition here. Not somebody that obviously it's not the headliner, some quarterback or a
Mhm.
game changer at the running back position, or a superstar wide receiver. But this was a big position of need for Alabama. They were able to get one on board today, and CJ Dippre. And some people have asked me, will they go after another tight end? Is this the only tight end that they're going to try to go after in this class? Eric Gilbert, one of Alabama's former targets that many of us felt like was going to end up at Alabama a couple years ago. Ends up transferring from LSU to Georgia. Now he's in the transfer portal. Does Alabama have any interest there? No. Alabama's pretty much finished recruiting at the tight end position. Even with a talent like Eric Gilbert, they're not really interested in him. I don't think they're going to recruit him. CJ Dippre is the guy that they wanted, and they're going to bring in. Really athletic. Doesn't have not a tight end that has 1,000 yards receiving to his resume, but you watch some film of him. He's a really athletic dude at his size, can run. You've seen his athleticism in the hurdle that's kind of spread, throughout the internet, from his game against Ohio State. And I think his game against Ohio State was actually his best
Yeah.
performance during this 2022
Mhm.
season. I think he ended up having 4 receptions and a touchdown in that game. So, this is a guy who has some experience, and he's going to bring some quality depth to that tight end room at Alabama.
We're here with Andrew Bone talking about CG Dupree, who has announced his transfer from Maryland to Alabama football. Bone, Jalen brings up a good name here in the comment box, Robbie Oots. I really like the way that Alabama utilized Oots kind of there in the back end of the season. It was good to see kind of a big man get in the rotation, and obviously with the tight end position, it kind of seemed like it was a dying position. And then you look to the NFL and some of these tight ends who have kind of been reemerging as these big time playmakers. George Kittle, for example, the things that he's done with the 49ers. I mean, do you foresee Alabama, going after CJ Dupree in terms of somebody who could be, pass catcher, kind of pick up some yards? Do you see him kind of down in the dirt? Is he a little bit a mix of both? What do you see from him when you talk to kind of people in his corner?
I mean, he's a big dude. I mean, he's like I said earlier, he's 6'5", 260 pounds. So I
Mhm.
mean, he's automatically the one of the bigger guys in that tight end room. But he's also recruited. Alabama wanted him to be that pass catcher. That they need another pass catcher in the offense, and he's
Mhm.
certainly somebody they feel like can fit that role, and somebody that they're going to really depend on next season. They're not going after a transfer portal player to come in and sit the bench. They
Yep.
go after transfer portal players because of a big need, because they believe those guys can come in, make a big contribution, and that's what Alabama sees in CJ Dupree. And they want somebody that can pick up the production that's going to be lost from Cam Latu. They need somebody that can stretch the field and they can get open, that can create those big plays on third down and be that safety valve. So Ty Simpson or Jalen Milrow or whoever the quarterback may be going into next season, they have somebody that they can depend on at that tight end position. And I think the hope right there, as of right now, is CJ Dupree heading into next season. Obviously, there's going to be some talent there. There's some guys that are itching to get on the field. Robbie Oots is coming back, and I certainly see Robbie Oots being a contributor in the offense and being used in different ways. But CJ is just going to bring that different element to the tight end position, and certainly somebody that is going to see the field a lot this upcoming season, or at least Alabama hopes that's going to be the case.
Here with Andrew Bone, and CJ Dupree has announced his transfer to the Alabama Crimson Tide. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We appreciate you guys being here. Hey, Bone, look, I have to ask you this. I mean, every time I have you here, and then this is kind of the question that people want to know. Um, will Alabama bring in a transfer quarterback? I mean, what are you hearing there? I'm sure you get it hit up all the time. I'm sorry to like put you on the spot like this, but that's what people they want to know, Bone. They want to know if a transfer quarterback could be in play as we get into this time of year, and you look to the roster with Bryce Young exiting out, and you have Jalen Milrow returning. Of course, you have the two quarterbacks coming in. Ty Simpson, saw a lot of progress from him. Do you feel that when you look to the quarterback room, that Alabama could potentially take a quarterback? Is it right now too early? Is it the perfect time? What's kind of your sense right there in terms of a quarterback?
Yeah. I don't think there's really anybody in the transfer portal right now that Alabama has any interest in. I think that it's something that's on the table as far as will they consider taking someone. I don't think it's one of those situations where they're like, nope, absolutely not, no quarterback, we're 100% focused on the guys that we have on our team right now. I think it would have to take someone significant to enter the
Mhm.
portal. I don't think they necessarily have to go after somebody, but I also think it's going to have to be an elite talent,
Mhm.
somebody that can be a big time difference maker in your program. Drake May's already announced that he's going back to North Carolina. But if somebody like Drake May would have
Mhm.
entered the transfer portal, Alabama's going to take a run at him. There's no doubt about it. But it's going to have to be somebody like a Drake May. It's not going to be just some you know random player that that had a good season at this school or that school. It's
Mhm.
going to have to be a really elite, top first round NFL draft pick talent type of player. But that's all I think I can really say on that end right now. I just it'd be kind of a miracle right now if they end up taking a quarterback, and I just don't see it happening unless it's someone really really special. And there's, in my opinion, as far as Alabama's concerned, there might be somebody special, for some other program. But as far as Alabama's concerned, I don't think they really see anybody in the transfer portal right now that they feel like can come in and be a difference maker, or really somebody that's better than the guys that they have on campus now.
All right. I got a couple more things for you, Bone. Just days away from the Sugar Bowl, our staff will be there. Clint Lamb is in New Orleans today. We have Trey Anity, Chris Daughtry. I'll be there later on this afternoon. Bone, as we kind of get into continue with the bowl season. Yesterday, Bone texted me and he's like, "Are the Lobos going to win?" And it was the Aggies. Come on, I'm a New Mexico State alum. They took down Bowling Green. Bone, when we look to this Sugar Bowl matchup, Alabama, Kansas State. Even Coach Saban yesterday said that this is a great matchup. And what did you? I mean, clearly we felt that Bryce and Will were going to play in this game. There was a lot of people that didn't. But what does that say to the organization that these guys, as the leaders of the program, stay and play in this game? And what kind of precedents does that continue to set for this organization? When your leaders stick around and don't bail out, when these guys certainly could. What was your kind of thought process? I don't think I've asked you about that, but in terms of Bryce and Will sticking around and playing in the Sugar Bowl.
I mean, I think it's it says a lot. I mean, for these guys, knowing that they are already projected to go into the top 10 of the NFL draft, for them to come back, basically showing to the Alabama fans, to the Alabama players, hey, you know what? We didn't finish the season like we wanted to, but we're still here. We're going to finish it out. We're going to close strong. Going into once the bowl game got announced, I'm thinking to myself, do the players even care about playing in this game? Do they? Obviously they're they're not excited about not being in the playoffs, but now that you see your leaders on your team captains coming back playing in this game, I think that says a lot, and I think it's going to mean Alabama's going to go out there and or go down to New Orleans and put it on Kansas State. I think it's going to be a rough game for Kansas State, to be honest with you. I just don't see it really being that close with these two guys coming back. Now, if they decided to sit out, they didn't want to play, you're going to see a lot of other players on the team not really caring about it either. That's not the case. I think, I kind of go back to 2010. And Alabama had, they didn't make the the BCS championship. They had a kind of a rough season. Everybody thought they were going to be, really good heading into the year. They lost 3 games. They go down to the the Citrus Bowl, play Michigan State, and I mean there were literally bodies just laying all over the field. I mean, I feel like there were multiple players that were taken to the hospital from the Michigan State sideline because they had never seen, these guys from Alabama. It was rough. I mean, it was like 50 something to nothing in like the third quarter. I can't remember the exact score, but it was bad. It was so bad. You kind of felt bad for the Michigan State players. I don't know. I think Kansas State obviously a little bit better, but it's going to be interesting. I do think Alabama's going to go in there with that mindset. Hey, we didn't have the year that we wanted to, but we're, this is how good we really are, and I think they're going to prove it this weekend. So we'll see. But I think it says a lot for for Will Anderson, Bryce Young to come back and play in this game, and I think it sets things up, really well for the future. Especially with the guys seeing that. I just don't see it anymore. You don't see players, especially that are projected first round. You don't even see projected first round. You see guys all over the country.
That's what I was asking. Yeah,
that are just like, hey, you know what? Screw it. We're going to, I'm going to the NFL. I'm gonna be a 5th round draft pick. I'm not playing this, bowl game. I got 2 top 10 guys playing in the bowl game for Alabama. That's that says a lot about their character, and I think it helps the future, with the players down in T-Town.
Okay, last question, Bone. Since we're headed to New Orleans and we're going to the great state of Louisiana, there's transfers come in, transfers go out. Were you surprised that Aaron Anderson hit the transfer portal and transferred to LSU? With him being out, early in the year and kind of the talent that he had, I thought, we can kind of look at players that could potentially, progress and be successful. Considering when you look at the wide receiver room, I think there's going to be a very big open competition starting in the spring. When you look to Aaron Anderson, were you surprised by that news that he left Alabama so early?
Yeah, it was. As soon as it was announced, and then there's all sorts of rumors and,
Mhm.
and different things out there about why he transferred and everything like that. I know Alabama was really high on him. It felt like he was a great player. It's just kind of a crazy world we live in right now with with the transfer portal, with NIL, with everything that's just kind of going on. You just don't know what's all going on behind the scenes. But Aaron Anderson, transferring to LSU, I think there's definitely a little bit of a surprise there,
Mhm.
just because he was a really talented player. There was a lot of buzz about him back in the spring. Got injured. People talk about, oh well, all these other freshmen, ended up kind of stepping up throughout the year, getting more playing time, but he would have had an opportunity to really contribute next season. I think
Yep.
going into the spring, he would have had a fantastic chance to really shine out there on the field. But it's just one of those things where nothing kind of surprises you anymore. And best of luck to him.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, you can rewind this video, first portion, obviously, of CJ Dippre announcing his transfer from Maryland to Alabama. Big pickup for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Big tight end coming to the tight end room. He's Andrew Bone. I'm Kyle Henderson. You can follow all our coverage back at Bama Insider. Joseph Hastings, Jimmy Stein, Clint Lamb, Andrew Bone, all those guys take care of the great editorial side of Bama Insider. So go check out all the great content just a couple days away from the Sugar Bowl in my favorite city, the Big Easy. I'll be headed down there. So if you see me, let's hang out down on Frenchman Street. Holler at me. We'll be posting videos down from New Orleans, and we'll be bringing you coverage headed into the new year. And be sure and like and subscribe. We really appreciate you guys being a subscriber right here at Bama Insider. Big win today for Alabama. They have practice right now. We'll get that footage right here loaded to the YouTube channel. You can watch Nick Saban's press conference, of course. All the great coverage right here at BamaInsider.com.